He did not believe the words he was saying. That was the problem. Everything about that morning comes from an account written down 800 years later, so hold it as loosely as I am going to. But this is how Lanciano tells it. Sometime in the 8th century, in a town in Abruzzo, a little inland from Italy's Adriatic coast, a Greek monk stood at an altar and prayed the prayer of the Eucharist. He was a priest. And somewhere along the way, he had stopped being able to believe the one thing his whole life was arranged around. And then, the account says, what was on that altar changed, visibly, in front of him. 1,200 years later, an archbishop broke the wax seals on the reliquary where it had been kept and handed what was inside to a scientist. November 1970. Those seals had been closed since 1886. The man waiting was Odoardo Linoli, professor of anatomy and pathological histology, head of the laboratory at the hospital in Arezzo. Real credentials working in public. He was not shown the material blind. He knew exactly what he was being handed and exactly what everyone hoped he would find. Hold on to that. It matters later. He was allowed to take small samples. He took 4 months. And this was his conclusion. The flesh was human tissue. And it was heart, muscle from the wall of a human heart. The blood was human blood. Under electrophoresis, its proteins fell into the pattern you would expect from fresh, normal serum. And in the sections he examined, he found none of the salts and none of the preserving agents the ancient world used to stop flesh rotting. He published it in 1971 in a medical journal. It is indexed. You could look it up tonight. What he had been handed, incidentally, matched what that 800-year-later account describes. A rounded piece of tissue torn open through the middle, and 5 small pieces of dried blood. And this is what makes Lanciano worth your time. Whatever was on that altar, the town kept it. It is still there, a silver and glass reliquary in the Church of St. Francis, in the middle of an ordinary Italian town. You can go and stand in front of it. Now, this is the point where almost every telling of this story stops. The microscope agreed. Case closed. Roll the music. I want to do the opposite because the parts that get left out are more interesting than the parts that don't. Here is the first one, and it is the serious one. There is no known surviving source for this event older than 1574. Not a chronicle, not a letter, not a note in a margin. The earliest record anyone has found comes roughly 800 years after the morning it describes. The Italian investigator Silvano Fuso puts it plainly. The sources reach back at most to 1574 for an event of the 8th century. 8 centuries is long enough for almost anything to happen to a story, and long enough for almost anything to be put into a reliquary. The science has limits too, and you will rarely hear them said out loud. There is exactly one published study, and it is over 50 years old. Nobody has independently re-examined this material with modern methods. Linoli was not perfectly consistent about it either. His paper identifies the tissue as myocardium, heart muscle. In an interview he said this, and I will quote him in full. As regards the flesh, I had in my hand the endocardium. Therefore, there is no doubt at all that it is cardiac tissue. Myocardium and endocardium are different layers of the heart. Both are heart, so the headline holds. But that is not nothing, and you deserve to be told it. And the most quoted detail of all, that the blood is type AB, is the least secure thing in the whole report. Bacterial contamination can supply those same markers, and Linoli himself recorded fungal spores in the sample. But none of that is the strangest thing about the evidence for Lanciano. If you have heard of this miracle before, you have almost certainly heard this. That in 1973, the World Health Organization appointed a scientific commission to check Linoli's work, that it ran 500 separate examinations over 15 months, and that it published a report concluding science could not explain what was in that reliquary. It is in the pamphlets, it is in the exhibition catalogues that tour the parishes. It is being repeated today by people who should have checked. And there is a reason you have never once seen anybody quote a line from it. In about 2016, an Italian cardiologist named Franco Serafini was writing a book on Eucharistic miracles. He was not a debunker. He was a believer building a case for these miracles, doing what a believer ought to do, and going to look at the evidence himself. So he asked to see the World Health Organization report. And unlike the many people who had spent 40 years quoting it, he was actually shown it. He was taken to Lanciano and to a safe. By his account, it took him about 2 minutes. Inside, he says, were hundreds of pages of laboratory tests. Real ones, careful ones. And they were, for the most part, tests on Egyptian mummies. Somebody had taken that stack of unrelated science, written a first page and a last page about Lanciano, and attached them front and back. That was the report. That was the 500 examinations. Serafini called it a terrible fraud, a terrible hoax. Very sad. And then he published it, in his own book, knowing exactly what it cost the case he was making. The researchers Kearse and Legage went to both institutions and asked. The World Health Organization has no record of ever conducting such an investigation. Neither does the United Nations. And once you start pulling, one more thread comes away. You will often be told that each of the 5 pieces of blood weighs the same as all 5 weighed together. An impossibility, sitting there in a glass case. That claim comes from the first documented examination in 1574. The result has never been reproduced, because when the Church weighed them again in 1886, she recorded 5 different weights. Not equal, different. The correction did not come from a skeptic. It came from the Church's own examination of her own relic. That is worth noticing, and almost nobody does. So what is actually left when you take all of that away? This. In a reliquary in Abruzzo, there is a piece of tissue that a professor of pathology examined and identified as the muscle of a human heart. He published it in a real medical journal, and nobody has ever published anything to the contrary. But notice what I did not just say. I did not say it has been confirmed. Nobody has tested it since. And that is the strangest fact in this entire story. Stranger than the monk. Stranger than the fake report. Because we could settle this. We have DNA sequencing. We have radiocarbon dating, which could tell us whether that tissue is 1,200 years old or 200. Every question you have thought of in the last 8 minutes is answerable, with equipment that already exists on materials sitting behind glass in a church in Abruzzo. And in 55 years, nobody has run the test. There are honest reasons for that. It is a relic. Testing costs you a piece of it, and the Church is not obliged to hand her relics to a laboratory to prove herself. But it does leave us with a mystery that has stayed one partly by choice. Which brings us back to the monk, still standing at that altar whose name no surviving account preserves. His problem was never a laboratory problem. He was a man who did the holiest thing his church knew how to do with his own hands and could not make himself believe it. If you have ever knelt somewhere and felt nothing, he is not a stranger to you. And be exact about what Catholics actually claim. Not that ordinary bread stays bread and Lanciano was the exception. At every valid Mass, the bread and the wine become the body and blood of Christ, while still looking and tasting exactly like bread and wine. Lanciano, if it happened, is not a bigger version of that. It is a claim that on one morning, the appearances gave way too. the Church has never asked anyone to believe in the Eucharist because of Lanciano. She asks it on the word of Christ. A sign is not a proof. No Catholic is bound to believe this one. And devotion permitted for centuries is not the same thing as Rome declaring an event supernatural, which is the quiet lesson of the fake report. For 50 years, a story people loved was propped up by a document almost none of them had read. Not because they were gullible, but because it reached them through sources they had every reason to trust. The monk never got a certificate. He got a mourning he could not explain. What he did with the rest of his life, nobody wrote down, which may be the most honest thing this story has left to give us. Sources are in the description: Linoli's paper, Serafini's account, and the objections.